All right. Welcome, Phantasma soldiers. They call me the Doc. I'm the host with the Ghost. I'm joined by Nicholas Gibbs. He is the founder and the CEO of Unbanked, the One World Project, developing on chain. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, nice to have us, Doc. Thank you very much for running us over, pal.
100%, man. So it's been a while since we last spoke or done an interview on the chain. I wanted to be able to give the community an update on not only, kind of a refresh, really, I guess, so to speak, as what One World, Unbanked One World project is doing. Just get a little insight as to where you guys are at, the updates. We had a great call the other day. You guys dropped like a ton of information on us. I think the community is going to be really interested in that. So, I mean, I guess to start off with, just how about a short intro? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and then what was the inspiration again to build this project?
Yes, as Doc said earlier, my name is Nicholas Gibbs. I'm the founder and part of a much larger team now with the Unbanked One World Project or the One World Project, as it's now known. The last time we spoke on the channel was probably 12 to 14 months ago. We're a very early stage project at that stage. It was very much conceptualization, building out a team, and in fact we weren't even really at the team building stage at that point. We built a great concept that Phantasma and the guys really bought into, but then we really started our team building. Then we built out a full team over the last 12 months. A full board, 9 partnerships that we've managed to secure with service partners and agreements around the incubation platform that we're building. So for people that don't know or haven't heard about the One World project yet, we're building a decentralized or global incubator called the DCIE, or Decentralized Community Investment Exchange, where the investment is an investment of time in exchange for equity in projects. So it's participation based, using the full spectrum of Web3 and cryptographic technologies. So yeah, it's a purpose project. It's designed to peak at many levels of change, from interruption or disruption to the peer-to-peer creation of a peer-to-peer labour market within inside the incubator. It's where projects have the opportunity to submit projects, and people have the opportunity then to support and fund those projects in turn for equity and actually some genuine value back, rather than just a cost-based exchange. So yeah, I mean, over the last 12 months we've been really grinding. We've built up the full team, partnerships again that support the ecosystem, and now obviously we're pushing through with our MVP development to be able to get the go-to-market strategy launched. So yeah, lots going on, Doc.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely wonderful 12 months.
So one of the things I found really interesting on our call here last week was it's not just the incubator and the DAO. You have some actual real world applications that you're building as well, with some infrastructure. Do you want to tell the community a little bit about that? What you're doing with solar?
Yeah, so it's one of the things we weren't able to talk about 12 months ago, because we didn't really have, although as a global power engineer, I've been working in power infrastructure projects for 20 plus years. We talked about that on the last show, as part of the European power grid, part of the offshore wind industry, energy from waste conversion, so massive, major power infrastructure projects. As we were building out our tokenomics and doing our modeling with the machinations groups and others, some of the tokenomic experts down at Phantasma, we actually decided that there was a need also for a tangible asset that lived behind the asset base that was yield bearing. And then with my 20 years in power engineering, I looked at the simplest installation, which is obviously solar, on a cost base, and then we just started to build out the concept of actually part of the infrastructure base in our tokenomics should actually be a tangible asset that yields for a longer period of time, so you've got that much smoother curve over. So we're a 10 to 15, 25 year project. We're aiming for a longevity. So the infrastructure base is actually one of the really most exciting parts, for me, is because actually, communities will be able to, invest in infrastructure bases that they support with their skill sets, and then they generate yields for their communities. And so that's actually something that I think, once we can get a bit more traction and a bit more people hearing what we're up to, the thought of large communities being able to invest in tier 1 scale projects with larger yields and larger returns, I think should be interesting for all small communities. And actually going slightly further than that as well, we've made some connections with our, because our project is a very much a global project. We've made some connections in Zambia, in Nigeria, where there's also another really great option there, where actually there can be a supply side infrastructure build there, which drives free and clean energy back into the communities, and then still the yield can come the other way. So there's always a trade off where
Yeah.
it's the win-win, and actually you're driving community growth through energy infrastructure. So yeah, it's just an addition to the original tokenomics, which was that 15% of the tokenomic base was going to be in infrastructure. Now, obviously, as part of our risk planning and our planning for the project as a whole, we've obviously planned for large community sizes right the way through to, say, for instance, if what people may classify as a potential flop of a project.
Mm-hmm.
We're a long-term project, so we don't see any raise as being a particular flop. But we have a mitigation for each of those raise levels. So, for instance, if it was only a 10% raise, then part of the Web3, the infrastructure base would then be Web3 based. If
Mm-hmm.
it's 20 to 30% raise, obviously that moves into solar, and then above there we obviously have the larger vision over a longer term, which is the micro data center options. Talking sort of 5 to 10 years out for the
Yeah.
project. But yeah,
Well, I think it's really cool what you're doing, especially because the preface is it's the one world project, but it's always been kind of the unbanked, and you're putting infrastructure in places that are largely unbanked, like Nigeria and places like that, who also are deep supporters of cryptographic currency, because they have a lot of issues that they're sorting out, and huge adopters of it. So it's really nice to see how all this is potentially going to kind of roll together, support your project, and also support actual people with services that they need in their everyday, like, real life, right? Is that kind of like the ethos here is with what
Well,
you're
I mean,
going for?
we're seeing it firsthand, Doc, because some of the projects that we've been incubating with. So one of our first projects is a project called Paymania.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, Jeff's a guy out of Nigeria that we've been building the concept with him, and he's been incubating with us for probably 12 months now. And we see his struggles. Every time we do our incubation, program, sometimes they'll have the load shedding, and then
Hmm.
the power's off, or then we'll have to cut that short, and that's happening with our guys in South Africa. It's happening with the guys in Nigeria. So you're seeing that all over the region, that they're having these major infrastructure issues, and well, actually, we're seeing that globally. To be fair, not to sort of go down the sort of global macro side.
True. Yeah.
You're seeing the competition from the USA, and Europe, to try and get the best talent and the contracting base for solar operations. So, I mean, that's only one part of the project, but that
Of course.
infrastructure base we think will be critical, because firstly, it has the potential to drive clean energy back to those that don't have constant energy, which is the first step on that energy base. And the second part is that communities, if you were to do simple math and say 1,000 people in a small village with $1,000, they have $1 million for an installation now, so they can build a much more efficient installation.
Hmm.
So I think it works for all. Again, the infrastructure part is a massive part of the system, because we want to make it as well. We want our tokenomics to be as low. Obviously, we can never talk about it in terms of being low risk when we work in the space we do. It's an unregulated space still, or with a lot of regulation there now, but still we have to talk about risk levels, relatively. But to be able to reduce that as far as possible by having tangible asset as part of that tokenomic structure, I think for the DAO members, it makes it much it reduces some of that risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you're making real world co-ops with energy structure, moving that over into a Web3 DAO structure, and then you've got governance doing the whole thing. So I may have jumped ahead a little bit with the
Yeah,
real world infrastructure, but let's go back and let's kind of take a look at the white paper a little bit,
yeah.
update people on what's going on so they get a better idea and they can figure out how, like, this all these pieces kind of fit together as part of the thing. So let me just bring up the white paper a little bit.
Well, it's actually something that's been a real challenge for us, Doc. Yeah,
Yeah.
because again, when we sort of started out the conversation here, yeah, I started with a concept and the version 1 world paper, which was a white paper then.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have quite a large team now.
Hmm.
We have 10 people that are now doing our ambassador roles, globally, and
Hmm.
doing outreach in their countries, and then we have a massive, quite a large partnership base now for such a small project, because we haven't really launched it really in terms yet, because we're still developing the MVP. So it's been a challenge for us to be able to communicate, as simply as possible. But if I was to try to communicate the project in sort of, like under say 20, well, I don't know if I'll achieve that, but in as few as possible words,
Yeah.
place where projects and people, have opportunity. Projects need people, people need projects, and then the DAO structure lives over that as the larger entity that then provides that whole incubation area with opportunity, at which they can then take those opportunities and give resources to others. So it's all about win-wins, and it's all about that equity share. And rather than, it's actually also about a concept concept sort of paradigm shift a little bit as well, because if I borrow £50,000 to give to 5, 6, 10 people to help me build a project,
Mm-hmm.
well, actually what we've been able to do here is give away equity within the project, in the global project, for those 6, 8, 10 people, rather than having to give 50,000 in capital. So outside of using my capital, we haven't, we stuck to our principle there of zero debt.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's worked with us, and it absolutely can work with others. So sorry, I'll get on, Doc, but
Yeah, it's all good. No, I'm just kind of like, as you're talking, I'm just kind of scrolling through the white paper a little bit so people can refresh themselves on the idea of what we're doing, the different parts, because it is a large scale project. We're talking about like the thought behind it and the mechanics behind it and things like that. It's definitely a lot to think about, but so we've got several sections here. We've got the DAO, we've got the incubator, and as you said, the DCIE. So these are three silos of the project that all are going to work together to be able to incentivize work, incentivize new projects, fund new projects, and then have a governance structure to kind of umbrella, kind of control the whole thing here, which I think is really great. I really like that this is a people powered project. It's not an incubator to necessarily incubate. What are the type of projects? Well, that's a good question. What are the type of projects that you're looking to incubate
yeah.
overall? Because a lot of times people say, oh, it's an incubator, like, oh, okay, let's get my new game launched, or let's get my new NFT thing launched. I mean, like, what's the focus of the incubator going to be once you kind of get there?
Yeah, so I mean the incubation part. So if we start with the DCIE, or the Decentralized Community Investment Exchange, okay, that's a platform where anybody can submit a project. So it's very similar to a crowdfunding portal, I suppose. For
Mm-hmm.
instance. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
people can submit projects. Projects will be there, and then we have an SQL table that does it very different to the way banks operate, and it's all
Mm-hmm.
reverse engineered. Okay, but the point is that people can submit projects, but the difference is rather than funding a project, the opportunity is there then for you to work with the project, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of equity share. So what you're looking to do at that point then is, remove it's not a VC, it's a community driven incubator.
Mm-hmm.
So the DCI is a value exchange between people and projects, and the incubation part is done by community members in return for equity
Mm-hmm.
and profit share. So they're actually working with projects. So it's where
Right.
you bring, it's where you incentivize the so in investment, for instance, you put money and you walk away and you
Mm-hmm.
receive some kind of yield at the end.
Yeah.
With this, with the model that we've created, you participate with the project, and you then are rewarded in the One World Project token, which is equity in the project.
Yeah.
So you're actually rewarded for your effort. So and therefore it's the effort of others that drive the growth of the project. So yeah, it's a slight nuance on 2 or 3 different areas, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the part I'm going to skip down to some of the because I think what we're kind of talking about here. This is I want to highlight some of this. So this is kind of like what we're speaking about. So we've got the steering group, the governance group, and a place for people to submit, and the meritocracy aspect of it. So I know meritocracy is a big part of what you're doing. As you mentioned the other day, as you kind of plan out and wait for your token launch to happen internally within the DAO, within the Discord, there is already this kind of meritocracy program happening right now where people can contribute. They
Absolutely.
can still be rewarded. Tell us a little bit about, the things that you're
Yeah.
doing inside the Discord server and how that's kind of working out so
Yeah,
far.
absolutely. So if we were to talk about our tokenomics and our project as a whole, um, again with the reverse engineering of the math here, the 80% of the project always lives with the project, and then 100% of yields go back to the project. So they only need to
Hmm.
make up 20%. Okay, once they've made that up, it's all ROI. Okay, and that's in term, but they have to drive that through incubation of projects and and participation. Okay. Now we've already started this because with inside the Discord and with inside our sort of wider community, we have the GM token, or the good merit token, as one of our members coined it. But that is a direct. So when we launch our MVP, or when we launch our token, again, 80% of that is public. 10% of that goes to collaborators that have worked with the project, as part of the meritocracy, and then 10% lives with the project team. Now we've taken part of that also for our community members. So as they participate in some kind of whatever they participate with inside the Discord, with inside the project, we've called it proof of work tangible, as a bit of a play on of proof of work. But actually what it is that when people participate, they're rewarded in the One World Project token, and a certain percentage of the equity is going to be released to all participants that have participated since day one. So people are actually generating equity within the project as we speak now, before we've even launched a token. So and that's been going on for nearly 12 months. So those that have been with us since the very beginning, helping us out, working on bits of the project, some guys in the development side, guys and girls all across the project, they're all receiving equity in the project as it grows. So yeah, that's a big part of this. And going further than that, when we talk about meritocracy, as a business owner, if I hire a developer, it's a direct cost, okay, and it's an expense, related cost, okay. So although you've come to me and given me 20 hours of time and of work, I can directly expense you as a cost, okay. You haven't received anything for that growth portal apart from that sort of wage element. So with the meritocracy, what we're trying to achieve is that those that actually support the growth of those projects receive, rather than just the cost base, the expense base, they actually receive something within the project, so they have some equity in those bases. So that's just an incentivization model for people to participate in projects and actually unlock the equity within those projects.
Right. So one of the things that we hear in the Phantasma community right now is, what can we do? What can we do as a community to be more involved, to spread the word out? And it sounds like you've already got something for the Phantasma community to come in and do. Come in, participate, join the server, be part of the DAO, and help enact changes, get into this meritocracy, start spreading the word, and really solidify around some of the projects that are being built. So here's a call to action for our faithful soldiers in the audience. Definitely make sure to jump in the Discord server and see where you can slot yourself in and be a part of this, right? I mean, that's what this is all about. This is how we make the magic happen, is we don't sit around and wait. We get together and we push and we build together. And that's the ethos of Web3. So just going through here a little bit, you've got a great white paper. We talk a lot about the utility.
It is being slightly updated, Doc. We do have quite a lot more going into it now.
Great.
So probably in the next sort of 2 months or so, there'll be a V3 coming out. So
okay.
We'll look out for that one when we get a bit done.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got NFT utility, we've got DAO. So here's a question for you, and I'll skip back up. Let me skip back up a little farther because I am very appreciative of this, by the way. You have a really nice section about Phantasma Chain. Can you go in a little detail of why Phantasma Chain? What's been your experience as a developer working with the chain, and what are the reasons? Because I would say that in all of our calls, you've always remained steadfast supporters of Phantasma. Just want to kind of key in the community, as a person leading a project that's developing on this chain. Like, what are the things about Phantasma that keeps you here? What are the things that energizes you about it? And if you could just go in a little detail about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we've always been big supporters of Phantasma. We love the technology base you have over there. Okay, and before we even loved the technology base, we love Phantasma as a group. It's an open source group. We love that. And also actually since the and I hope you don't mind us touching on this, but actually what we've seen since the troubles that the chains had is that we really believe that the chains that stay with it and have teams that stay with it get through it, and seeing coming out the back of the hacking audits and getting a lot of expense spent there to try to achieve chain security. We just really believe in the team and the technology. Now, in terms of the technology itself, we talked about this last time round. There's quite a few little nuances because we've designed this without there is now a commercial impact, of course, okay, but we
Mhm.
designed it to be a system that was fair. You know, it was one of those win-wins that people laugh about. They say, "Oh,
Mhm.
you shouldn't try to achieve things like that." Yeah, but we removed greed from the process and realised that you could. The numbers did stack up for communities to be able to do this together. Okay, so some of the mechanisms that we've created and we wanted to create, we can do that with the Phantasma chain, at, you know, at very low cost,
Mhm.
and that technology base hasn't changed. So when now that we see that you've come further in terms of, you know, your development side, you know, you've improved the security infrastructure, you know, you've invested there. We're just really happy to still continue to build on the chain. So for me, it's a great project, and it's got, you know, it's got a great future now as well. You know, you have to build on the basis due. You know, timing, of course, is everything. But as it stands, you know, you guys have come through that. You know, you have your audit, you know, cleaned out there, and I think it's you know, it's a great time to continue building. So for me, you have some of the technological parts that we need to be able to execute on some of the mechanisms that, you know, we can't quite elaborate on a couple of them, but obviously when the MVP gets launched, they'll become a little bit clearer, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that we talked on the last call about different ways to leverage some of the smart NFT utility, especially when we're talking about, you know, distributing your internal token,
Yeah.
for example, and being able to, let's say, infuse and airdrop NFTs with your token as you start to kind of do this one-to-one changeover process. A lot of different stuff like that, and probably some stuff that I won't, you know, let out of the
Yeah, I
bag.
mean,
But
some of the time lock stuff we really like.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
firstly, that's the first part. The smart NFT, the infused NFTs is the second part, because again, they're two mechanisms that we haven't seen anywhere yet.
Yeah.
And in terms of what we want to do with our tokenomics, they would be very costly in some places.
Mhm.
Other ways, you know, you might not even be able to actually achieve that. So again, we can't elaborate too much further than them, but there's two really great mechanisms that we love, and the time lock one is really important for our project, because we to be able to make sure that the cycle doesn't end with a no answer, which is, again, because this is an empowerment project.
Mhm.
Our SQL table is reverse engineered to, for instance, let's say, I don't know, let's say a payday lending scheme. Yeah, they have an
Mhm.
SQL table. They'll have a table where will come out with a probability outcome of the project, answer yes or no, and then they'll do whatever they do in terms of how they function. That
Yeah.
not specifically that sector, but our SQL table is designed to work the opposite way, where if the answers are no, the alert is that it needs X, Y, and Z. Well, the project DAO has X, Y, and Z in people that need, and they're looking for the
Mhm.
opposite side of that equation. Okay,
Yeah, right.
they're looking to do that work in terms for for their reward. Okay, so it works both ways. So yeah, some of the mechanisms, some of the time locks, and some of that, we have
Cool.
some really great stuff we're looking at in terms of mechanisms to protect the floors, and also the time lock in terms of how the funding cycle works and is released to the participants throughout the DAO structures. Because again, the One World project, or the One World DAO, the first DAO will obviously be the first iteration of the project. But then obviously once we have proof of concept, we want to then obviously have this popping up, you know, in
Yeah.
multiple countries and jurisdictions where communities can then prosper from the same model.
Mhm.
So being able to use some of those features is going to be really interesting as we move forward. But yeah,
100%. I have to tell you that this is one of the reasons why I get super pumped about this project is because, you know, Phantasma started as a gaming centered blockchain, all these cool features. But what people don't realize is just how incredibly useful with you know some creative development when we start like you know, kind of thinking outside of the box of using them for entertainment or like, hey, I'm a guy, I'm in an RPG and I'm naked in my underwear and each piece of armor is an NFT and we fuse them all together and do a thing. Like that's cool. That's a really easy way to understand to explain some of the dynamics of the smart NFTs. But what I get really excited about is when I speak to your team on a call and then I see us thinking about like some really incredible ways to use smart NFTs outside of entertainment, to use them in more of like a DeFi or a DAO kind of standard where we're really doing creative stuff that you can't do on other chains. And
Yeah,
that's when I start to, like, every time I get on the call with your team, I always end up like, I get really pumped about the use case, because what you're building is so cool, and I can't wait for you to be able to show off like some of the really just amazing cool stuff you can do with these smart NFT features, because I
yeah.
mean,
Johnny, our CTO, certainly got his work cut out for him. So
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so exciting though, because it's not just this. This is sort of 2.5 years in the making now. So
Yeah.
and initially, and this has been a massive journey for me as well, because initially I thought, I was thinking, 6 to 9 months out, we've got something there, but actually, as we've gone through that journey, all the professionals we've spoken to, the teams we've spoken to, the partners we've spoken to,
Mhm.
everyone's got more and more bullish about the project. Actually, what's happened is that it's just become what it should have become, which is it's quite a large thing. And what we need to do with the technology to make all of those pieces work together, whether it's the non-custodial on-chain, consoler partnership we have for
Mhm.
for the project level, for
Yeah.
the project submission level, and non-custodial custody there, or whether it's the Fanoa, for the DAO treasury, because that's a much larger treasury that needs a more institutional grade treasury, although still treasury management system. The interaction between the One World project token and the project being funded compared to a person being rewarded, how that's got to interact. And then you've got the tokenomics for the DAO structure in the background that's got to, as the DAO members grow that treasury, that's an automatic, one way, time locked payout rather than a draw.
Right.
So
Right.
so the security implications as well there, massive security implications for the better. So yeah, look, it's a massively exciting time. It's taken a long time to sort of get where we are, but
Hey,
it's
that's okay. You know what? Yeah, like, so I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and we're a barbecue town, right? We're the barbecue capital. And there's like this credo: it's cook it low and cook it slow, right? So
that's it.
you take the time, you get all the seasoning on there, you fire it off, you go out, you do your thing. 8 hours later, you come back and you've got this beautiful, like, roast burn end or whatever, right? So that's not, that's like the thing is, it's okay that it takes times, because especially during this crazy time in, crypto in general, right? I mean, this is the best time to really sit down and think about, where we're all going. What's your prognosis? So I mean, just to get into the wider macro with crypto in general, as a, we see a lot of stuff with legislation and things like that going on. I mean, is the doubt that are we still on track with crypto? Are we still? I mean, I believe in DAO structures, like,
Look,
incredibly, and I believe in, like, the things like you're doing, and I think it's the way forward. But I mean, like, what's your thoughts on just in general, DeFi and all that
yeah,
kind of
I mean,
stuff?
look, I think obviously, look, we've certainly had a hell of a year, a hell of an 18 months, shall we say, in
Yeah.
terms of the industry looking potentially, like a bit of a corrupt and cowboy industry in certain areas, which I think is completely unfair.
Mhm.
There is a lot of that. Of course, it's a nascent industry, and people take advantage in nascent industries. And also, part of the DeFi world is, let's be honest about it. It's degens just throwing it around. Like, we've seen it this week with some of the stuff. People posting $1 million makings off.
Pepe coin. Not
Yeah,
to call anybody out. Hey.
but that is part of a nascent industry, and I think if you
Yeah.
round the clocks back 25 years, your parents would have said to you, "There's no way I'm putting my credit card on the internet, on that internet," or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
It
Yeah.
would have been like that, right? And I
Yeah.
still think it is. I think that's where we sort of are in a way. I think it's much, you know, we can see when we have a look at Europe, when you have a look at Germany, when you have a look at UK, coming out now trying to be the leader here. You look at some of the BVI islands that are doing great work. I
Mhm.
know sometimes people don't really understand those concepts, but
Yeah.
you've got, for instance, Marshall Island DAOs, operating DAO structures. We see a lot of negative headlining, I suppose. In terms of legislation and regulation, we've seen it very recently. Um, but but for me, I think when they're done in the right way, a lot of these systems really can be wonderfully beneficial to people.
Agreed.
And there are many projects that are doing good things. So I think that you continue doing the good thing, continue trying to build the right thing. I think once ours is up, it'll be very obvious. It will be decentralized. The funding will not be able to be touched by the centralized team. There'll be there's a, you know, software as a service effectively, you know, outside of it, we wouldn't be able to control anything. So I
Right.
think once we get it up and people can see that they can submit projects, you know, of course there's frameworks to get through so that, you know, so it
Sure.
portalizes and creates you a correct profile and whatnot, and it needs
Yeah.
to also have a good UI, and people want to be able to want to use it, you know, and
Yeah,
enjoy
of
it.
course. Yeah.
But it's a complete paradigm shift in terms of concept. So when it does go, and when people do see it, you know, you could be a person that has no money, but maybe participates in 25 projects in a month, and you've
Exactly.
and then
Exactly.
you've achieved, you know, you've achieved the commodity token in the one world project token, and all of a sudden, you know, you're purchasing the NFTs, and then you're generating, you know, returns and rewards. So, you know, it's all about participation. It's all about collective growth. But the reality is that it's a system that's been designed with complete fairness in mind. Our tokenomics show it. Everything's open for the, you know, for the public to view and really have a good read through. And there's endless amounts of documents. So, I mean, for me, I think we have to keep building the right things, keep doing the right things, and and then, you know, regulation will come. Of course, you know, stable coins are being regulated. You know, I think the trouble is that it's not at government levels, even at tier one contracting levels. You know, to get a decision out of a tier one contractor about a design change, for instance, that,
Sure, yeah.
you know, hold your horses. You know, by the time
Right.
you get to government level and regulatory basis, you know, it takes a lot longer. But what we're seeing is positive. You know, we're seeing, you know, not a start. Well, people might see it slightly differently. It's only in my opinion, but it doesn't seem like innovation's being, apart from maybe in the US, that innovation's being, you know, strangled.
Mhm.
Obviously, there should be fear from all founders when they're launching products, because if you're, you know, if you're launching unregistered securities, or if people are funding your projects with risk capital, if you're receiving money to build your infrastructure, which
Mhm.
is risk capital, then you do need to be careful. I think, you know,
Mm.
and our legal team would tell us the same. You know, you need to be careful in certain areas. But I think as long as they allow innovation to continue, which, you know, hopefully they will, um, it doesn't help having massive sort of collapses. But, you know, not to sort of go into any particular one, but some of the collapses have obviously looked more like the old systems than the
Sure.
new
Yeah.
system. You know,
Right, right, right.
a decentralized software system that runs and rewards as designed.
Yeah.
That, you know, outside of being hacked, you know, it should run. You know, when we're running, you know, so when we're taking people's money and we're throwing it into risk assets, you know, we're acting like, you know, like other sectors really. It's
Sure.
not acting in the nature of what the software is designed to do, you know.
Yep, yep, yep. That's great, and it's great to see. It's great to see projects like yours who are trying to do that, the innovation part. It's great to see, a place for people to be able to come with their ideas or whatever that may be, and have a place for them to take off. And that's why, again, I'm super excited to have you on the chain.
Splendid.
Any closing thoughts? Any that you want to tell
Oh,
the Phantasma community?
you know, you know me. I could talk all day about this, you know, without sort of repeating myself. But for me, look, it's been a magical 12 months. You know, initially we thought to ourselves, you know, when we saw that, we knew that it'd be good. You know, we knew that it was good to build through the bear. You know, it's not as crazy. You know, if you know, teams do need time to coalesce. My final thoughts would be that if you want to build a big project, it does take a lot of time, and it takes a long time to build your team. Then takes a long time to, you know, to coalesce as a team. It then takes a long time to really perform as a team. So if you're looking to build something big, you know, just expect the timeline to be a little bit longer than you foresee. But actually, we're still in such a nascent part of the game, I think, in terms of the industry, that actually the put the time to one side and just build a great product, because, you know, a product that's designed with people in mind. So people that have no options, no funding, can grind on a project, receive one world project tokens, and then buy the NFT into the membership. So you don't need money to get onto the membership. It's all about participation. So you know, 2 to 3 years ago, people might have said, "Oh, that's a bit of a silly idea." Well, actually, what you're seeing now is that people really want to work on projects that they care about, and projects want people rather than just investors.
Yeah,
Because the investor puts their money and runs away. You know, a bank, for instance, you borrow your money from a bank. Well, they don't. If it's unsecured loan, they don't mind if it goes pop. Well, they don't want to, but, you know, the risk is
yeah,
low. And if it's a higher loan, then it's a secured loan. They don't mind taking your assets. So, you know, but it's not about. But it doesn't support the project to succeed.
yeah.
And So for me, I think the major takeaway from today is that, as you know, there is so much power in community driven work, and actually not just power in terms of the sentiment driven good part of it, but actually,
Mhm.
you know, let's create projects. Let's create projects that are successful, and let's get people from all over the world participating with us, because we've proven it. We've got, again, 10 ambassadors, 6 on the board, and 9 partners. So we've made 27, 28 connections globally from all
That's
corners of
amazing.
the planet
Yeah.
that's helped us to drive the project. So it can be done, and when you really want to do something, you certainly will. So that'd be my takeaway, Doc.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. It's all about the people. It's about us all coming together. It's collaboration over competition right now within the industry, and I love to see you building a place for that collaboration to happen between people. This is a people powered industry. This is a people powered ethos. When you get down to the root of the ethos for cryptographic currency and the reason why it's important, it is to provide that equal share, that equal opportunity among all peoples. And we're just super happy to have you on Chain. Nick, I think that's going to do it for today. I really want to thank you for spending your time with us. Oh, go ahead.
Finish with one more thing, Doc.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, completely up to everybody what they do, but we would invite you to come down. We are only an early stage project. A lot of our work is infrastructure at the moment, just building the foundations for the project. Okay, but everybody that's in the Discord, or everybody that's doing something with us, however small, they're all being rewarded in the One World Project token from when we launch. So
Yeah.
they're generating equity as we speak. So if you want to come and join the Discord, it's a nice little bunch. We're only a small community, but we are building fast. So yeah, come get involved and back yourself a little bit at the project.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and then that's was going to be the next thing, a big call to action for the soldiers out there. Let's get behind Nick. Let's get behind One World Project and all the great projects being built on chain. Really super exciting stuff that they're doing. I highly recommend taking a look at their white paper. Hit up the Discord, see what they're all about. Nick, thanks so much. I'm really impressed by the team and the strategy and just everything that you're doing. As I've said about 5,000 times, super excited to have you building on this chain because I think it's going to be great. I think the project's great. I think it's a great use case for the technology of Phantasma, and it's going to be great for the people who enter into your project once it kind of gets to fruition, to be able to build more amazing things with each other. So again, thanks so much for your time, man, and we'll
Yes, Doc.
talk to you soon. All
Take
right.
it easy. Oh,
All right, we'll sign it off. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone, soldiers. Make sure and like, smash, retweet, blend, whatever you have to do to this YouTube video. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
super.